One evening, after another tiresome day at the office, I hesitated at the entrance of my apartment building. As I climbed the stairs to my floor, I couldn't shake the feeling of unseen eyes boring into the back of my skull. One evening, after another tiresome day at the office, I hesitated at the entrance of my apartment building. As I climbed the stairs to my floor, I couldn't shake the feeling of unseen eyes boring into the back of my skull. The following morning, I found a Polaroid picture slipped under my door. It depicted me standing at my apartment door the night before, frozen in the act of unlocking it. Fear became my constant companion, and paranoia wrapped around my sanity. I started seeing shadows move in the corners of my vision, hearing whispers in the empty silence of my apartment. Sleep became a distant memory as I succumbed to the terror that lurked in every corner. One day, the Stalker's letters took a gruesome turn. They detailed vivid fantasies of violence and blood, describing in detail the ways in which they envisioned ending my existence. Panic turned to dread, and dread to a chilling acceptance that my life was no longer safe. Desperation led me to seek help, but the authorities dismissed my claims as the product of an overactive imagination. With no one to turn to, I became my own investigator, scouring my surroundings for any sign. Days blurred into nights as I patrolled the streets, eyes darting nervously at every passerby. My reflection in shop windows showed a hollow shell of the man I once was, sleep-deprived and paranoid. One fateful night, as I wandered through a desolate alley, I caught a glimpse of movement in the darkness. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I chased the elusive figure, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The pursuit led me to an abandoned warehouse, its creaking doors swinging open. Inside, the stench of decay hung heavy in the air. My heart pounded in my chest as I navigated the dimly lit labyrinth, the echoes of my footsteps amplifying the eerie silence. A distant sound, a cruel chuckle, reverberated through the cold air, sending shivers down my spine. In the heart of the warehouse, I found a room bathed in sickly yellow light, walls adorned with photographs of my life, my every move meticulously documented. The air grew thick with a palpable malevolence as I realized the true extent of the Stalker's obsession. And there, in the center of the room, I found myself face to face with the embodiment of my torment, a figure clad in darkness, their features hidden beneath a grotesque mask. In their hand, a gleaming knife reflected the terror etched across my face. A twisted smile crept across the masked Stalker's lips as they whispered, "I've been waiting for..." In the dimly lit room, time seemed to stretch and warp as I faced the masked Stalker. The air hung heavy with tension, and the acrid scent of fear mingled with the pervasive stench of decay. The grotesque smile beneath the mask seemed to widen as the Stalker took a step forward, the cold, metallic glint of the knife in their hand reflecting the twisted delight in their eyes. A paralyzing fear rooted me to the spot as the predator circled, closing the distance between us. The Stalker's voice, a sinister whisper, echoed through the room. You never knew I was always one step ahead, watching, waiting." Desperation clawed at my chest, urging me to break free from the paralysis that held me captive. As the Stalker's laughter reverberated through the room, I summoned every ounce of courage and took a cautious step backward. The predator's gaze followed my every move, the gleam of the knife casting long, menacing shadows across the walls. My mind raced, desperately searching for an escape route, a way to turn the tables on the Stalker. The Stalker, reveling in the palpable fear that enveloped the room, continued to taunt me with the sordid details of my life. "You thought you could escape, but you were always within my grasp, every step, every breath." With a surge of adrenaline, I made a split-second decision. As the Stalker lunged forward, the knife gleaming with malice, I sidestepped the attack. The predator stumbled, momentarily off balance. And in that fleeting moment, I seized the opportunity to snatch a nearby makeshift weapon. A broken piece of wood. The room became a chaotic. We fought with a feral intensity. The makeshift weapon found its mark, sending the stalker recoiling in pain. The tide had turned, and the roles had reversed. Adrenaline surged through my veins. An instinct replaced fear as I fought for my life. The stalker, now vulnerable and exposed. Panic flickered in their eyes as I pressed the advantage. Each strike fueled by a cocktail of fear and survival. The stalker's once confident laughter now morphed into agonized pleas for mercy. The final blow sent the stalker collapsing to the cold floor. The room fell into silence. I stood there, panting, the makeshift weapon still clutched in my trembling hand. The realization settled over me, like a heavy shroud as I left the warehouse. The predator had become the prey, and I had emerged from the shadows, bloodied but alive.
I was just an ordinary girl living in the heart of the city. Life was good until the day I noticed him. A silhouette lingering in the shadows, watching my every move. At first, I dismissed it as paranoia. But the feeling of being watched soon escalated into a chilling reality. It all began innocently enough. Or so I thought. I first noticed him when I was leaving work one evening. The dim glow of the streetlights cast an eerie ambience on the deserted sidewalk. As I quickened my pace, a subtle rustle of footsteps echoed behind me. Glancing over my shoulder, I caught a glimpse of a man, his face obscured by the hood of a dark hoodie. My heart pounded, and I told myself it was just a coincidence. But as days turned into weeks, he became a constant presence in my life. Whether I was at work, grabbing a coffee, or walking home, he was always there, watching, waiting. The unsettling feeling of being observed became an unwelcome companion. Unable to shake off the unease, I decided to confront him one evening. The city lights flickered overhead as I turned into a narrow alley. Hoping to lose him, I stopped abruptly, pivoting to face her. "Who are you? Why are you following me?" I demanded, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and frustration. The hooded figure remained silent, only the subtle rise and fall of his chest visible. Without a word, he turned and disappeared into the darkness. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay in bed, haunted by the encounter. Who was he? And what did he want from me? Desperation fueled my search for answers. I installed security cameras around my apartment, hoping to capture evidence of his presence. But each morning, the footage revealed nothing but empty streets and the occasional passing stranger. As the days went by, his actions grew bolder. He would leave cryptic messages, notes slipped under my door, or chilling whispers that brushed against my ear in crowded places. "You can't escape," he hissed. The words echoed in my mind, a sinister mantra that fueled my descent into paranoia. The boundaries between reality and nightmare blurred. Every corner I turned, every shadow seemed to harbor his presence. Friends and colleagues dismissed my fears as the product of an overactive imagination. But I knew better. He was real, and the terror he inflicted upon me was all too palpable. One evening, as I returned home, a cold breeze carried a faint scent of citrus, a fragrance I associated with his silent presence. My heart raced as I entered my apartment, only to find it in disarray. Furniture overturned, personal belongings scattered, and a message scrawled on the mirror in crimson paint. I see you. Fear gripped me like a vice. I couldn't continue living in this constant state of dread. Seeking help from the authorities proved futile. Without tangible evidence, they dismissed my pleas as the ravings of a paranoid mind. I had no choice but to take matters into my own hands. Armed with a newfound determination, I delved into the shadows that cloaked his identity. Late nights were spent scouring the internet for any clue, any connection that might lead me to the person haunting my every waking moment. My investigation led me to a forgotten chapter of my past, an old flame with a penchant for obsession. Jake, an ex-boyfriend from years ago, resurfaced as a potential suspect. As the pieces fell into place, the chilling realization hit me. He had never let go. Jake, it seemed, had crafted an elaborate web of surveillance around my life. Through hacked accounts, hidden cameras, and an intricate network of spies, he had orchestrated my descent into madness. The betrayal cut deep, reopening wounds I thought had healed with time. Determined to confront him, I tracked Jake to an old antique store on the outskirts of the city. The air inside hung heavy with anticipation as I navigated the dimly lit store. The echoes of my footsteps reverberated like a heartbeat, syncopated with the pulsating dread that filled the air. A figure emerged from the corner. Jake, his eyes burning with a manic intensity. "I knew you'd come," he whispered, a wicked grin playing on his lips. "I've been waiting for you." Emily. Confrontation escalated into a nightmarish struggle, both physical and psychological. Jake reveled in the power he held over me, recounting moments from our past that he had twisted into a narrative of betrayal and revenge. Each word cut deeper, pushing me to the brink of sanity. In a moment of desperate clarity, I managed to escape his clutches and left the store. With each step, I could feel his presence behind me. The final confrontation played out on a narrow alley. Jake, fueled by his delusions, cornered me, his eyes gleaming with a dangerous fervor. "It's over, Emily. You can't escape me," he taunted. But I had reached my breaking point. The fear that had paralyzed me for so long transformed into a fierce determination. As the sounds of our struggle echoed, the police arrived, alerted by the commotion. Jake's reign of terror came to an end. The nightmare was over, but the scars remained. In the aftermath, I found solace in the support of friends and the therapy I desperately needed. As I rebuilt my life, I couldn't help but wonder how someone I had once trusted could unravel into a nightmare.